Have you ever wondered why Japanese homes always feel tidy yet warm? Why can a simple low table or a small vase make a space feel intentionally peaceful? Today, I'll share with you 5 cleaning principles that make this possible. And more importantly, how a Japanese grandmother named Noriko applied them in her new home in the United States. You'll see that each principle not only transforms a house, but also touches how we feel about the way we live. From giving every item a place to return to keeping just enough space for the mind to breathe. From treating cleaning like a gentle morning ritual, to letting furniture flow naturally with the house. And finally learning how to shift the space with the seasons so it always feels fresh. Just 5 simple ideas, yet enough to change how an elderly person lives and falls in love with their home again. Not because Grandma Noriko followed rules, but because she lived with intention. Today's story is not just about Japan. It's about how 2 cultures quietly learn from one another, in the very home where Grandma Noriko now lives with her daughter and American friends. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you find this content helpful. Your support gives us the motivation to keep sharing meaningful stories. Thank you for being here. When Grandma Noriko first came to the US, she brought only 2 suitcases, one for clothes and one for small items such as handkerchiefs, a bottle of sandalwood oil, and an old tablecloth she had used for nearly 20 years. Her daughter had prepared a private room for her with a large bed, a wooden dresser, 2 bedside lamps, and a soft armchair by the window. But Noriko stood there quietly, then folded away half of the items. She put away 2 pillows, 1 lamp, and even the armchair into the closet. I asked her why she didn't leave them out. She said, "I only need enough to live. The rest should be left for the air to breathe." In her Japanese home of over 60 years, everything leaned towards simplicity. Her wardrobe had 3 main outfits. Kitchen tools were divided by season. Items used rarely were stored in high cabinets with careful labels. The floor was always clear, so a mat could be spread at any time. American homes, on the other hand, are larger with more storage and often more things. Americans keep what they might need one day. Japanese people keep only what they're using. But if you think Americans don't know how to organize, you'd be mistaken. Grandma Noriko once told me she admired how American seniors could live independently. They drive themselves to the grocery store and use convenient tools to clean weekly. They don't live in fear, and they treat a tidy home as part of personal responsibility. Meanwhile, Japanese seniors, though often more minimal, tend to accept help more as they age. That American self-reliance taught her something new, that cleaning isn't just about neatness, but about making it possible to live fully on your own each day. And from that contrast, Noriko realized she could combine the strengths of both. From Japan comes conscious simplicity. From America, independence and steady effort. And that's why she began telling me about the 5 cleaning principles she holds close to her heart. 5 things that aren't flashy, don't require buying anything yet, are enough to make a house feel like a peaceful place to live. Principle number 1. Every item has a place to return to. One early autumn morning, I saw Grandma Noriko take out a small wooden tray and place it by the entrance. She told me from now on, the keys will go here. No one needs to ask. No one needs to search. Just come home and you know where it belongs. I looked at the tray, then around the room, That's when I noticed that everything from the TV remote to the scissors in the desk drawer had its spot. Not a temporary place, but a fixed, permanent, unmixed location. She called it an act of kindness toward yourself. When you look for something and it's always in its place, the home answers for you. The Japanese have a concept for this, the idea of a belonging place for each item. A pair of scissors should have its drawer. A roll of tape should stay in one assigned spot. Not out of control, but to save mental energy. Noriko said that every time she couldn't find something, she felt a strange frustration rise, and she didn't want to live like that in old age. In American homes, she saw many useful items that had no permanent home. Papers mixed in drawers, pill bottles left on kitchen counters, jackets hung temporarily on chair backs. She wasn't judging. She simply said those items deserved a place to return to. A basket for laundry, a small drawer for utensils, a special box for unread mail. These are small actions, but when done daily, they ease the mind and begin to bring a natural order to the home. Noriko suggested starting with 3 items you use every day. Assign each one a fixed spot. Try keeping that habit for 3 days. Then ask yourself, does everything feel just a bit easier now? Principle number 2. Respect the space to breathe. One afternoon, Noriko and I sat in the living room just to look at a blank wall. That wall had once held a large painting taken down to be repainted and never replaced. I found the emptiness meaningless, but Noriko said it made her feel calm. She told me about the concept of ma in Japanese culture, the silence between sounds, the space between objects, and the pause that allows the house to exhale. Japanese people are not afraid of emptiness. They leave space for light to pass through, for the eyes to rest, for the mind to settle. In her old house in Kyoto, Noriko had a bookshelf where she always left one shelf empty. Not because she lacked books, but because she wanted her eyes to stop there, to slow down, to remember to breathe. In the US, she noticed kitchen counters, always full of things, fridge doors covered in sticky notes, and living room shelves packed with decor. She understood that each person has their way of living, but she also believed that outer quiet helps you hear your inner self more clearly. One time, she tidied her granddaughter's desk. She left only a pen, a blank notebook, and a small lamp. Everything else was stored away. When the girl walked in, she said nothing. But from that day on, the desk stayed just like that. Noriko believed that emptiness is not absence. It's a silent presence, a way to keep life from being overwhelmed by what we bring in. If you've never tried this, choose a surface in your home and leave at least half of it clear. Then notice how you feel each time you walk by. You might be surprised that the emptiness itself is what fills your heart with peace. Principle number 3. Cleaning as a daily ritual. On some early mornings, while the whole house was still asleep, Grandma Noriko would wake up, wash her face with warm water, and slowly wipe each stair step with a cloth. No one asked her to do it. No one noticed. But she did it as if it were a natural part of life. She called it the ritual of beginning a new day. Nothing fancy, no expensive tools, just wiping the table, folding a towel, rinsing the sink. And each action carried a sense of gratitude. I once asked her why not just wait until the weekend and do it all at once. She smiled and said, "When you let dust build up, you feel tired before you even begin. But if you do a little each day, the house never becomes a burden." In Japan, children are taught early on that cleaning is a responsibility toward the space they live in. Not because it's dirty, but because you're thankful for where you are. When she came to the US, she noticed that older Americans had their rituals too. Some folded the blanket on the sofa every night. Some always washed their cup before bed. Not because they feared mess, but because they wanted to end the day with neatness. Noriko said those actions were beautiful. Cleaning isn't a chore. It's a form of care. A moment to listen to your breath, to notice life in the smallest corners. Try choosing the smallest thing you can do each day. Wipe the sink fold a blanket line up your shoes. When you do it regularly, the house will remember, and you'll begin to feel a quiet calm each time you come home. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if what Grandma Noriko shared brought inspiration to your own home. Your support gives us the strength to keep telling meaningful stories like this. Principle number 4. Less furniture, more flow. In her old home in Kyoto, Grandma Noriko didn't use a sofa. She laid out floor mats, placed a low table in the center of the room, and sat on cushions near the floor. When needed, she folded the mats, moved the table aside, and the space became a spot to breathe, stretch, or simply sit in quiet. When she came to the US, she was surprised to see how people walked around their furniture instead of removing some to open up space. There was a coffee table in the center, a large sofa set, an armchair, a shelf, and then a side table. Each piece was lovely and convenient, but when placed too closely, they interrupted the natural movement. Noriko often compared a room to a stream of water. Furniture is like stones. Too many stones, and the water gets blocked. Place them well, and the flow is beautiful. She never opposed furniture. She just said, let it serve you, not make you go around it every day. She once helped her daughter rearrange the living room. They removed a rarely used armchair, moved the coffee table near the window, and stored away unnecessary decor. The room immediately felt bigger, brighter, and lighter. She suggested walking around your home and asking yourself, is there something I walk around every day? If yes, try moving it or live without it for a week. Sometimes it's not that we lack space, but that there are too many obstacles making us uncomfortable in our own home. Principle number 5. Change with the seasons, renew your spirit. Grandma Noriko had a special habit. Every time the wind shifted, she would change the tablecloth, swap the curtains for something thinner or thicker, and place a few fresh branches on the tea table. White chrysanthemums for summer, pine cones for winter, plum blossoms for spring. She said, the home is like a person. It needs to change clothes with the seasons, nothing costly. Just small gestures to remind ourselves that time is moving. When she lived with her daughter's family in the US, she kept that habit. But she also learned something new. Americans love seasonal decorations, from Halloween to Christmas to Independence Day. She found that very heartwarming. She didn't buy much, but she kept a few small items. A wreath of dried leaves, a string of tiny lights, a red cloth for the year-end season. Then she blended both worlds. The subtlety of Japan and the festive spirit of America. She believed that when we change a little with the seasons, the home feels refreshed and we feel more alive in the present. You don't need to change the whole house. Just use a small basket. At the start of each season, place in it a few things that reflect the weather. A dry branch, a fallen leaf, a piece of bright fabric. When you do this, you're telling your home, I am alive, I am listening, I am walking with time in gratitude. One thing I realized after living with Grandma Noriko and listening to her stories is that cleaning is not a task to get done. It's a way to slow down, to care, to create a space that reflects who we are. The 5 principles she shared are all simple, all doable today, without cost, without big reasons. All you need is a desire to live lighter, calmer and kinder in the place you live. From giving each item a place to return to, allowing space for breathing. From cleaning daily as a thank you, to reducing furniture for natural flow. And finally changing with the seasons so life doesn't turn rigid. Noriko didn't choose one culture over another. She said the Japanese taught her elegance. Americans taught her generosity. And her home now is a blend of both. A place that is simple yet warm. A place calm enough to breathe. And warm enough to live. Thank you for watching to the end. If you found this content helpful, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment so we know you're there. Your support means the world to us. See you in the next video.